Welcome to The Romantic Side of Suspense with Sarah Hammaker. In each episode, she'll talk with your favorite romantic suspense authors. They will take you behind the scenes of the writing process, giving excerpts from their writing, and share stories about their writing life.
Hello, and welcome to The Romantic Side of Suspense. I'm your host, Sarah Hammaker, and I'm so glad you joined me. This episode, you're going to hear about this month's new releases in Christian romantic suspense. I hope you will enjoy hearing from your favorite romantic suspense authors as they talk about the background of their latest books. I am delighted to welcome Lynette Eason back to my show. She's going to talk about her latest romantic suspense, Twilight Tactics. So welcome back, Lynette.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
So if your heroine has or could have a pet, what would it be? And please tell us the pet's name.
Okay, so she lives on a ranch, so there's lots of animals there, but she would have a dog or a horse. She really likes horses. It's a toss-up.
Does she have names for these animals?
The horse is Belle. And then the dogs are just ranch dogs. So I don't even know if I named them, to be honest.
That's okay. All right. So she has a horse named Belle. That's a good start. So what is your hero's first reaction in an emergency situation?
His first reaction is to help. He is his name is Sully, and Sully Sullivan his first name is Colin, but everybody calls him Sully, and he's an FBI agent. So his first reaction is to just jump in and be the protector and help.
Okay. I'm sure that can get him into trouble sometimes.
To say the least, yes.
So the villain in this story, what is your villain's motivation?
My villain's motivation, well, I can't say too much about that, but it has to do with, let's just say, getting even.
Okay, revenge. Yeah. If a fictitious place, what did you base your setting on?
So Whitestone, Tennessee is based on, I can't really base it on a specific town, but it's outside of Knoxville, Tennessee. It's probably, I think I put it about 20 minutes outside of Knoxville, Tennessee.
Okay. And underlying positive message of your story, do you have one? And if so, what is it?
Yeah, so it's funny because this is a hard one to tell as well without giving away some of the story. But I would say the underlying message is you can't always go home, but God always has a place for you.
Ah, that's a good one. And what is your book's tagline?
The book's tagline. Oh, you know what? I don't remember. That's a really, yeah, I was supposed to write that down for this and I didn't do that. Okay. So you can tell I'm like super prepared. I'm sorry.
It's okay. Hey,
Edit this part.
That's all right. Yeah, I'll fix that part. But you want to find it real quick?
I do have a tagline somewhere. I don't know.
What?
I'm looking on Amazon to see if they listed it there, but I don't see it. So, I don't know.
All right. So how about we do, what is one thing you want readers to know about this book?
Okay, one thing that I would love for readers to know about this book is that it was a really fun location for me to create. I mean, it was completely fictional, and I had to come up with a map of a ranch, which was crazy hard. You wouldn't believe how hard that was. And I spent hours on this map, and I'm really hoping they put it in the front of the book, but who knows if they will or not. But yeah, I just love the location. Even though it's a fictional town, I have fallen in love with the ranch.
Well, thank you so much for sharing about Twilight Tactics with my listenership today.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you for letting me share.
My next guest is Elizabeth Goddard, and she's going to talk about her latest romantic suspense, When the Silence Breaks. So welcome back to my show, Elizabeth.
Hi, thank you for having me.
So the heroine in this story, why did you pick her name? And please tell us what her name is as well.
Yeah, it's Sarah Ellison, and it was pretty easy to pick because I wanted to use a character from one of my previous novels. I like to kind of loosely tie all of my series together. You know, I might bring a character in from another novel. So this is Sarah Ellison, who is actually Sarah Fraser in Cold Light of Day, for those people who were, or those readers who remember her in Cold Light of Day. She's a side character. And so, of course, that was easy. easy name. His name in this book because she was using an alias in the first book.
Okay. And what about your hero? What is his biggest regret in this story?
His name is Ryder Goodwin, and he is a former Navy SEAL, and he could not save his father on a SAR mission. And so, you know, here he is with all of this training and all this skill, and he had to watch his father die. And so he just feels like a failure and has a lot of regret. And, you know, it was one of those things where if I could turn back time, how I would do things different.
Yeah. And I know there's a villain in your story because we write that lovely romantic suspense. What's your villain's motivation in this story?
Well, he is trying to make sense of a past tragedy that shaped his entire family and his life growing up, and now he has the power and ability to do that. It's kind of like he's been planning this his whole life, and so it just weighs on him and drives him forward.
And what about the story's setting? Where is it set, and why did you pick this particular setting?
I set it in the Cascade Mountains, and that is in the state of Washington where I live. The Cascades are filled with several volcanoes because they're part of the Ring of Fire. I had come across an article in a regional magazine about a World War II bomber that crashed in the Cascade back during World War II. Yeah, I guess it was on a training mission, but they never recovered the plane. But I just started, you know, thinking about that. It just really caught my attention. I thought, well, what if it was never found? And what if it was carrying a deadly payload? And just all of these different questions. So I thought it would be really fun to set an entire series around these mountains and some of the mystery behind the World War II bomber that crashed.
Yeah, I love how we can incorporate sometimes real things, and of course we change them as we need to, the real things in our stories.
Oh, yeah.
So that's always fun. Which leads us to the next question. With the storyline, what was the hardest part of writing this book for you?
I think it was really the pacing, because I had this idea of Sarah hiring Ryder, the wilderness guide, to take her up the mountain to look for the secret behind her brother's murder. And so I've got these two characters going up the mountain. I'm like, what have I gotten myself into? You know, with the pacing and like, how do I make this work and how do I make this interesting? You know, and just keep up all of the danger. And so that was the hardest part for me. And at the end of it, I was really worried, but I sent it to my editor, and she came back with, you know, she really loved the book, and she thought the pacing was just right. And I'm like, well, that's probably a first, actually. Right, so maybe because I'm so worried about it.
Yeah, well, you know, I think sometimes we do worry about things that end up not being what we should have worried about. But that's a whole other podcast to talk about. We're going to keep the focus on this particular book. So we are going to close our time together, Elizabeth, with what is When the Silence Breaks tagline?
Buried secrets, rising danger, in one mountain holds the truth.
Oh, I love that. Thank you so much for sharing about your book on my show today.
Thanks for having me.
To welcome Monique DeVere to my show. She's going to talk about her latest romantic suspense, Guarded by the Sheriff. So welcome to my show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So we're going to dive right in and get started with our heroine. What lie does your heroine believe in this story?
Well, Sienna believes she doesn't deserve forgiveness.
Okay, that's a big one.
Yeah, yes, for sure.
And what about your hero in this story? What is his greatest fear?
Ethan his greatest fear is that Sienna will disappear again.
Oh, that's very intriguing. And what about the villain? Why did you decide to make this person the villain? And feel free to not give anything away if that's important to your story.
Okay, yeah, it is. But in my experience, the people we trust can be surprisingly villainous.
Yeah, yeah, that is true. And what about the challenge in writing the book where you have it set? And tell us where you set it. What was your biggest challenge in that?
Okay, my biggest challenge was I live in the UK and I've never visited the US. So setting Guarded by the Sheriff in Montana was a bit of a culture shock for me. I had to do a lot of research in order to bring the setting to life. So that was really good, learning such a lot about Montana.
Yeah, so do you want to go there now? Go
Um,
visit?
you know what? It would be lovely, but I kind of worry about meeting bears or something in the
Yeah. One thing I love about writing Christian fiction is that we can infuse it with positivity. So, what is the underlying positive message of your story?
Okay, so at its heart, Guarded by the Sheriff is about learning to trust God, even when life doesn't go as planned. Both Ethan and Sienna carry wounds from the past that have shaped them and derailed their hopes for the future. As they face danger together, though, they discover that God can bring healing and forgiveness, restore hope, and offer second chances when all things seem lost.
Oh, I love that. It's so beautiful that we can remind our readers of that through our fiction. We're going
Absolutely.
to close our short time together with what is the tagline of your book?
Okay, that is a child in need of protection and a lawman keeping watch.
I love that. Well, thank you so much, Monique, for sharing about Guarded by the Sheriff on my show.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure.
I'm delighted to welcome Hope Welborn to my show. She's going to talk about her upcoming release, Taken Without a Trace. So welcome, Hope.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
What past experience has had the most impact on your heroine and making her who she is today in your story?
So Maya Reed is the heroine. She is a private investigator, and her backstory is that she and her younger sister were put into foster care after their mother died from an overdose. So her sister was an infant and was adopted right away, and then Maya, unfortunately, was a good bit older and was never adopted. She actually aged out of the foster care system. And so I have a really good friend who has spent her entire career in foster care system, adoptions, and that kind of thing, worked with defects, different things. And Sarah, I know that you've got some experience with this as well. So I kind of wanted to portray Sarah, Maya in this way. She had really great foster care families, but she just always kind of grew up feeling like she was not wanted, not loved, like she didn't get enough. And that colored all of her relationships. And so, when she had dated the hero in the past, so this is a second chance romance. So they had dated before. He broke it off with her very suddenly and unexpectedly with no explanation, and she just, again, put another, check in the column of, I'm not enough, I'm not worthy, I'm not, loved. And so when they come back into each other's lives at the beginning of the story, and then ultimately have to work together to solve these two cases that they're working on, that still colors her view of him, her perspective, the way she relates to him, and it's really hard for her to accept his help. She's always used to depending on herself and relying only on herself, and so that impact really has carried over into her adult relationships.
Yeah, so what about your hero? What's holding him back from finding love in this story?
Okay, so Cash actually grew up in a more nuclear family, but his father was just sort of in and out of his life. He would leave the family, then he would come back,
He would be there for a while, he would leave again. So Cash kind of grew up with this idea of don't open yourself up for love, because he saw what his mother went through, and he didn't want to go through that himself. He didn't want to put somebody else through that. So he's kind of always held all of his relationships, even his friendships, at arm's length. So when he, even he would date, but it was always on a very surface level. And he dated Maya, and he really found himself falling for her for the first time in his life. And he got terrified, so he just took off, walked away, left, no explanation. And she comes back into his life again. Those old feelings are still there, but he's so afraid. He's become a Christian since the time that they dated, and so that really even gives him more of a reason not to want to hurt her again, because he really does care about her. So he still continues to, to try to help her, but he really wants to keep all of those feelings bottled up.
Yeah, and what about your villain in this story? Does your villain have a motivation?
Yes, the villain is motivated by greed, the need to control. They see themselves as someone who's trying to build their own empire, no matter who gets hurt in the process. They manipulate, they use others to get what they want, and what they want is more power, and to get that, they need more money. And so that's really the motivation there.
So if it sounds like you created something fictitious as the setting in your story, but did you base it on something real?
Yes, actually, the hometown that I grew up in, there was so this story is about the GBI. That's the Georgia Bureau of Investigation. So it's a local arm of like an FBI type of investigation. And they have regional offices all over Georgia, and one of those is in my hometown. So I just thought that would be an interesting agency to focus on, because, the kind of cases they investigate, the way they get involved, is very different than you get with a local law enforcement agency, a city police or a county sheriff's office. So I just thought that was an interesting take, since I knew their regional office was in my hometown. But I didn't want to call it the name of my hometown. And, because you get a lot of like, well, that's not really where the post office is, and, things like that. So I made up a town. It's called Gaddon Valley, is the place where the office is located. And then the heroine, Maya, is in like a neighboring town. So all of that area, I just kind of based on the Northeast Georgia mountain towns where I lived.
I love that. Yeah, sometimes I create fictitious towns too, and I have based things in, real towns, but you do. Those are the ones that I'm like, it doesn't really matter, so it's okay. It's okay in my story, but I don't want a lot of, there's nothing here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the smaller the town is, the more easy it is for people to pick up on the inaccuracies. If you're dealing with Atlanta or New York City or Dallas or something like that, people for the most part won't know. But the smaller the town, the easier it is for people to pick up on that.
Yeah, so true. So what is the underlying positive message of your story?
Well, as I mentioned, you've got these two broken people, and both of them really want to be loved and want to love someone else. And so the underlining message is that we have a perfect Father in God. He loves us unconditionally. He made a way through Christ to have a relationship with us. He wants to give us that place of where we belong. And, Maya wanted a family. She always longed for that, a place where she felt like she was loved and wanted, but she felt like she was unworthy. And then Cash was afraid that if he opened himself up to love, he would hurt those he cared about the way his father hurt him. He would be hurt. And so both of them had to learn to accept God's unconditional love for them, as well as face their own past, their own fears, their own insecurities, in order to love each other and be loved. So I think the underlying message is that, we are already loved in a most perfect, unconditional way. We just have to accept it.
I love that. Well, we're going to close our short time, Hope, with what is the tagline for Taken Without a Trace?
So the tagline is a missing person case or a deadly cover-up. And that speaks to the suspense plot of the story. So Cash, as the GBI agent, has spent years searching for a missing person it's a cold case he was never able to solve. It's the one that haunted him. And so when he gets an anonymous tip, he goes to investigate, and that puts him right into the path of Maya, his ex-girlfriend and private investigator, who's searching for her missing sister. So after they were separated in foster care, Maya spent years searching for her, finally found her, and they were supposed to meet up, and then her sister mysteriously goes missing. So as the two of them began to investigate these two cases, they find similarities, the cases begin to intersect, and now they have to work together to solve the cases before time runs out. So that's
I love that. Well,
so
thank you so much for sharing about that on my show today.
Well, thank you. It's been wonderful to be here.
Thanks for listening to The Romantic Side of Suspense with Sarah Hammaker. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a review. You can sign up to receive notifications of upcoming podcasts and listen to previous editions at sarahhammakerfiction.com.